Hi, everybody. Vivek here from Meaningful Ideas and Gentle Parents Unite. And I am on my weekly coaching call. And before the coaching call, I always give a little talk. And today's talk I wanted to record on video because it's something that's very near and dear to my heart. A few years ago, I was at a dance festival in Massachusetts, and we were doing this whole dance imagination therapy thing. And at one point, I was dancing, and all of a sudden, I had this image of little Vivek come to me. Oh, you know what it was? We were supposed to imagine a spirit animal and talk to the spirit animal and dance with our spirit animal. And my spirit animal ended up being little me. I remember that all of a sudden. And I was so surprised. I was looking for, like, I don't know, a mongoose or something, but all of a sudden there was little me standing in front of me, and we started to dance together, and then I held him and we were spinning around. And then we were supposed to, after this, we had some time to dance, and the facilitator led us through some different stages of it, whatever, I don't remember exactly. It was a couple of years ago. But then at the end of it, we were to spend some time writing to our spirit animal and what our experience was like. And I just found these notes from that time, and it was really moved me what I wrote, and I wanted to share it with you and talk about that a little bit. So this is what I wrote. I wrote, "Little Vivek is always with me." And then speaking to him directly, "You are free to play, little one, free to explore, free to be who you are." And then in caps I wrote, "Be who you are. I believe in who you are. Stay with me, little one. I will listen to you. I love to listen to you. Your emotions are normal, acceptable, and valid, little Vivek. Your thoughts and your intellect are normal, acceptable, and valid. Your interests are normal, acceptable, and valid. And your sexuality is normal, acceptable, and valid. All these things will grow and mature just like everything else in your life. But right now, you are perfect as you are. When you fall, I will pick you up. When you cry, I will comfort you. And when you're afraid or sad, I'll give you empathy and compassion. I'm here for you. Let's hold hands forever." And that's what I wrote to little Vivek. And I was so touched reading that because, first of all, thank you to the facilitator. The facilitator's name was Bernadette Pleasant, and I really appreciated their facilitation. And the way they facilitated it, facilitation is so important. We can really create a space for someone to go deep into themselves. And this is what Bernadette did, and what I am trying to do for myself when I talk to my little child, my inner child, that way. And I also like to talk to my adult self that way as well, because adult Vivek needs as much love and compassion as little Vivek does. But somehow there's this way that we can ignore the impact that our little selves have on us, on our lives, on our daily lives. So whenever I'm interacting with another person, the adult me is there, but the child me is also there. And everything that they say affects all of my parts, right? And so this is something that's so important for me to recognize. A lot of the time when people get really upset, or they get really defensive, or they get really frustrated, or they have some kind of like challenging reaction, a lot of the time it's the unconscious presentation of the childhood emotions coming out. They think that they're arguing with the person, or fighting with the person, or defending against the person, but really they're reacting to their parents. And I say they, but I mean we, because it's exactly how we're wired. And it's not everything. I know it's not everything, but it's certainly a large part of our experience. And the more aware we are of that, the more we can see that and feel that inside, the more we accept that that's a large part of our experience, the more power it gives us, the more choice it gives us, the more influence over our own thinking it gives us. I was going to say control, but I prefer influence. And so this is really important. So part of this, of course, is for us to slow down and really take the time to acknowledge the pain of our childhood. And when I say childhood, it could be 2, it could be 12, it could be 20. For me, 20 is still kind of childhood because I'm 52. And like I said, the adult self too, it's also yesterday. But right now I'm really talking about like little Vivek, 13-year-old Vivek who felt constantly misunderstood, 5-year-old Vivek who was criticized for the way he played, and 3-year-old Vivek that got spanked, and all of this kind of stuff. All of that is in there. And so when I feel something, when I feel a reaction, especially when it's about my kid or my partner, or the people really close to me, like my mom and my sister, and the people that I interact with on a more intimate, more intense basis around intense things, like health and money and living together and organizing and just the stuff that, and time and scheduling, the stuff that really can make us feel a lot of challenges in our relationships. When I notice myself get activated, one of my practices is to tune into little Vivek inside. And I immediately, I acknowledge him. I'm like, yeah, this is hard for you. It makes sense that it would be hard for you, little guy. Of course, you're hearing this kind of language. You're feeling this kind of emotional vibration coming to you, emotional dynamic coming to you. And it's really painful and it really hurts. And it makes you feel unseen. It makes you feel unsafe. It makes you feel alone in your pain. And you're not, and then I let him know you're not alone in your pain anymore, kiddo. I'm with you. I'm here. I'm holding you. I'm comforting you. And that's why I really liked this little speech I wrote for myself. I don't want to call it a speech. These affirmations that I wrote for myself, because they are so powerful. They are a way that we can talk to ourselves, give ourselves these messages. Because what happens is when I can really feel a little Vivek in there, and it takes some concentration to do that. And especially if we think it's silly, or we think we don't deserve to slow down and give ourselves that kind of care, or many other things that might hold us back from it. When I slow down and use the concentration and the courage that I have to give that love to little Vivek, when we can do that to our young selves, and then it's like the inner self has this calmness that comes about us, a stillness, more of a regulation. It's the co-regulation. We talk about self-regulation, but even when I'm holding my inner child, it's kind of like co-regulation, right? It's co-regulation with this child. and so as I learn to access more calm inside of me, I offer that calm to my inner child. And then my inner child calms down and trusts and starts to trust me and starts to feel me as a strong, stable presence. I mean, this is what I want to offer my kid anyways, right? My kid in the physical. So I want to offer it to my other kid. I always felt like, ever since my kiddo was young, I always felt that every time I gave her the unconditional acceptance, the unconditional compassion and empathy, the unconditional love that I'm always working towards, and I call it, I haven't talked about this in a while, but I call it minimally conditional love and minimally conditional acceptance, because we can never be completely unconditional. So if I say minimally conditional, it takes a lot of the pressure off. I realize that this is what I'm striving for, what I'm like I call stumbling with purpose, right? I'm stumbling towards that as always my purpose, always my goal. But the fact is, I've been doing it for 25 years. And after 25 years, the vast majority, if you take the sum total, the vast majority is pretty much in alignment with that. And you'll find that too, as the years go on, you practice every single day, you're going to get better at it. Now, here's one of the other elements that really helps us is when I was saying that as we were growing up, I felt like I was offering that same love to myself, and little Vivek was being healed at the same time as I was offering this and working with my kid for them to receive that. And so I was like, the receiving goes inward, the giving goes inwards and outwards, and the receiving goes inwards and outwards at the same time. And we are multi-layered beings, multi-dimensional beings, we are. I gave a talk about processing our own emotions last Thursday, and I talked about how multi-dimensional we are and multi-dimensional our emotions are. Our emotions live in our brains as feeling, but also there's ideas attached to those feelings, and then it also lives in our body physically, you know, and in our consciousness. There's so many layers to it. And it's the same thing with our inner children. There are so many things that our inner child sees and feels and believes about themselves. And we can help them believe differently. You know, like little Vivek often feels like he's alone in his pain, and no one is going to be there for him, and everyone is going to reject him. Part of that is the bullying I went through in junior high school. You know, it was a really clear message that I wasn't worthy of friendship. And I don't know if I would still be here if my mom hadn't convinced my dad to sell the house and we moved out of town, you know. And a lot of kids don't ever get that or have that opportunity. And so I was very fortunate that way. And also there's like 1 or 2 moments of kindness from kids in those years. Sometimes I reflect on that. I want to process that and talk about it more. There are 1 or 2 moments of kindness that I received in those years that really stuck with me and helped me feel like, okay, maybe I'm not completely worthless. And so now that I'm an adult, sort of, and have more of an understanding of what's going on inside of this, you know, bag of meat and bones and liquid and whatever is this particular arrangement of atoms, as I say. Now that I have more of an idea, I can actually help little Vivek create a different vision of himself, create a different self-image, create a different relationship with himself, so that when he looks at himself, he doesn't have that fear as much. And he still does, but way less than it used to be. And the more that I do that, the more that I turn that love inward, the more that I turn that attention inward, the more that I say, I will listen to you and I love to listen to you. I will listen to you and I'd love to listen to you are a little different, you know? And when I tell little Vivek that his emotions are valid and acceptable, and that I really appreciate them, I am grateful for them, you know, I add a lot of gratitude into it. And when I say, when you fall, I will pick you up, and when you're sad, I'll comfort you. And then when he actually is sad, and I actually do comfort him, right? So sometimes I'll like hold little Vivek like this, and I'll be like, Vivek, I know how hard it is, you know. And then sometimes I'll imagine I'm being held, and I feel the adult, and I get small, and I'm feeling held. And then the love and the compassion and the acceptance goes through my system. It goes through my system, and it affects me, and it rewires old patterns, old messages of my worth and of my value and my validity and my acceptability. And then what happens, you know, as we start to build more and more layers of those more empowering, nurturing, validating mindsets and ideas and feeling emotion sets, the more we build those layers, the more we're able to flow those out to our kids. The more that we're able to take in the chaos that they offer us, because boy, oh boy, kids can offer us a lot of chaos, right? The more we're able to take that stuff in and hold it in a different way. You know, and then little Vivek is like, yeah, I see how this person is suffering too in his 3-year-old way, right? Or 13-year-old. I feel it, because 3-year-olds are bright. They get it. They're brilliant, you know. And if we help them to tap into their natural empathy, then they can offer a lot of beautiful connection. And so little Vivek is starting to be a partner in all of this, you know. And it's so much easier to manage the big feelings that we receive from our kids when it lands in a space where our inner child is, you know, feels safe and contained. And this is a beautiful thing. So there's like an extremely practical reason to do this work, because it has a direct effect on our responses, a direct effect on our capacity to hold compassion in moments when we really want to lash out, when we really want to protect ourselves, when we really want to withdraw. All of those, you know, protecting ourselves, lashing out, withdrawing, all of those things that are completely natural and completely valid and extremely human. Same thing I said to little Vivek, I'm saying to you, like, I don't want us to feel shame about doing those things. but I also don't want to ignore them at the same time, right? And we're trying to repress them and hold them back all the time. I mean, I think that's worthy effort, but at the same time, that's not sustainable over the long haul. That's why, as we are doing this work to like not react those way in those ways, and sometimes I call it like intelligent repression. A certain amount of repression of those feelings in the moment when it's going to make us react makes sense. But again, that's not sustainable over the long term. So then I want to also be doing this work inside. Now, of course, there's many, many ways to do work with our feelings and our emotions. That's why I did the whole hour on it. I think I did like an hour and 20 minutes last Thursday. So if you want to see that, well, if you're not in the membership group, you'll have to join the membership group to watch that. So please come to www.gentleparentsunite.com. and you can sign up for our membership group. Sujai Johnston, the founder of Gentle Parents Unite, which is probably I think it's the largest gentle parenting Facebook group on Facebook. She's the founder, and her and I host this space together. And we'd love to have you over there. And I do this kind of talk for the parents in the group every Thursday, and I give a short talk like this every Monday. And all of those are available in the group. So we'd love to have you come join us there. And if you are in the group, please go watch that video, because there's a lot of great information in there about how to work with our own stuff. And so this is one important component, is to, and maybe go back to the beginning of the video and write down the things that I said to little Vivek, and then add your own. You don't have to use Vivek language. That's very much Vivek language, but use it as a template, and then write your own and create a little script for yourself that you can practice, and you can pull it out and read it, and maybe have a card with it in your wallet and put one on your wall, and even record your own voice saying it, and then you can listen to it. And I think I'm going to do that one. I'm going to record this. Well, I already said it. I'll just take the recording from this video, and I'll put it on my phone, and I'll just listen to it. Sometimes what I do is I record my own voice saying something compassionate to myself, and I set it as an alarm, and it goes off like every hour, every 2 hours, and I just hear it, and I'm like, okay, I remember. And it gives me a chance to like settle down, center, to notice myself. Like kids want to be noticed. My inner child wants to be noticed too. So I like to take the time to turn inwards. Not only, this is the thing, right? Not only when I have a bad feeling, difficult, challenging feeling, painful feeling, not only then do I turn into my inner child, but I want to do it when we're laughing together, or when I'm happy, or when something is going well, or when I'm just like browsing Facebook too much, or something like that. Like I try and involve him in my life. I want to be with him. That's why I said at the end, let's hold hands forever. I want us to be together, and so you can do that too with your inner child. And the more and more you allow yourself to see it as a real thing, a real relationship, and give it real value and validity, because again, like I said at the beginning, we can think, oh, this is just stupid, or this is fluffy, or this is like a waste of time. But I can't tell you how practical this really is. The soft skills, they call them soft skills, are so practical and so valuable. And we get the message from so many areas of society and media, and especially so much on social media. We get the message that stuff, working with our inner stuff, is weakness, or some kind of problem. We have some kind of problem with us. And how many people are like out there like talking about like, just being strong and not living in fear? And I live in fear. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid of my fear. Fear is very much a part of me. So is my sadness and my grief, my pain, and my insecurities. All of that is part of me. I'm human. Yeah, I'm human. Celebrate that. Celebrate that, Vivek and little Vivek. I celebrate your humanness, little Vivek. All of your complexity, all of you. So I really want to encourage you to try that, to take some of that on, to make it a bit of a practice, and see how it affects you, and see how it and watch it evolve over time as you practice. Anything that you practice, you get better at. That's just the nature of practice. Doesn't mean you become instantly an expert, but anything that you practice and practice day to day, you get better at. That's the way it works. And so take the time to do that. Take the time to spend a little bit of work, a little bit of effort to practice this, to talk to your young self. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. I mean, maybe there's a wrong way. Don't be mean, but you know, like just like jump in and do it. And even if it feels awkward, just keep doing it because we can't get to smooth if we aren't willing to go through awkward. It's as simple as that. And I as a person who's an artist in multiple different art forms, I'm a dancer, I'm a martial artist, and I draw, and I'm a musician, and I teach all these things. I teach a lot of these things as well, and I can tell you that the awkward stage is one of the things that pushes people away from what could otherwise be a wonderful experience of artistic pursuit. And because then it looks bad, and I think it was Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way that said you have to be a bad artist before you can be a good artist, and I just, even when I was in my early days of parenting, I always used to say I'm a bad parent. I just accept that. That way if someone gives me a suggestion, I'm not going to get defensive. Don't tell me what to do. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's how you think about it. Let me think if that aligns with what I want and how I want to be. Yeah, I'll take that in. Thank you. And I didn't take it as personally. I mean, I had to work at that. But still, the idea was I wanted to practice. I wanted to improve. I wanted to grow my capacity. Same thing here. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. As well as joining me at gentleparentsunite.com, you can also follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, all at Meaningful Ideas. And I have lots of videos on YouTube that are helpful, and tons of articles and videos on Facebook. And Instagram is really awesome. And I've just started tweeting recently, and all of a sudden I'm like tweeting every day. And so, like, if you want to join me on Twitter, that'd be great too. And peace out.